Oh no. Oh, that was a tea disaster. Good thing I'm wearing sweatpants. Didn't get on the couch, just got on my pants. My pants are a lot easier to wash than the couch. Hi Stitches! Welcome to episode 11 of the Ranney Knits podcast. I'm Justine and it is Thursday here in the upper left USA. This is my podcast all about the things I am making with my hands and yarn. Just yarn. Although I guess I'm making stuff with wire. And have you guys seen, what is it? We Are Knitters? Is that right? Is that the yarn company? Anyways, they came out with a line of raffia patterns. So you crochet using raffia, I think. I didn't look too closely at it. I saw somebody, it was All About Annie was making a hat, a crochet hat with raffia. Interesting. I want to do that. Speaking of All About Annie, I brought out my little All About Annie amigurumi bunnies for Easter. Oh, they're so cute. I made these, I think like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. I think it was 2 years ago. I hadn't done a whole lot of crochet. The only crochet I had done up until I made these was a one of those flowers, you know, that's like single crochet chain or single crochet like whatever it's called. Bunch of single crochets and then you just roll them up and it makes like a pretty flower. Maybe there were some double crochet. I made some crochet flowers. And it was very, very basic, and I put them on hats and headbands and stuff. But I saw these on her website and fell in love with them, and so I made a couple of bunnies, a couple of monkeys, and I had a ton of fun. I haven't made amigurumi stuff for a while now. It's been a little while, but these are really cute, and I did not just bring them out for Easter, they're out all the time, but thought I'd show you them because it's Easter and because I always say that I do crochet, so proving it, I do crochet occasionally, just haven't in a while. Before I go any further, I want to remind you that the Make What Your Mama Gave Ya Make-Along is still running. It will be running until May 13th. That is Mother's Day here in the US of A. And yeah, we're just making things with materials that have been gifted to us. So if somebody gave you a raffia kit from We Are Knitters, make it and enter it in my make-along because I want to see it. I want to know what you thought of it. You can enter over on the Ravelry group. I have a thread there where, yeah, let us know what you're doing with what materials and who they're from. I don't know why, but holding a pen is making me feel a lot more focused, and it was ridiculous because it took me a lot of tries to get that sentence out, but it does. It's making me feel very authoritative. It's my inner teacher coming out like, okay class, just something to point with, something to hold. Last week I went to the farmer's market and there was a guy selling handcrafted wands there. Like, what? That's amazing. I was just browsing, I was just breezing through there, I didn't have a lot of time, but kind of want to go back this week and see if he's there. I didn't think that it would be that useful up until this moment when I am holding this pen and gesturing with it and it's making me feel like a lot more focused. Like, how cool would it be if I just had a wand to podcast with, and then it would be like, yes, subscribe, like this video. There's gotta be a spell for that. Maybe I need a wand. Or I could use that money on yarn. or I could not spend that money at all and save it and put it in an IRA. So today I am wearing my campsite pullover by Alicia Plummer. I knit this last August as a part of the campsite along Cal that Megan of Little Fish Stitches podcast was hosting. And I'm so glad that I did, because it is just the coziest thing. This is one I would recommend if you haven't knit a sweater yet, or you're not if you're not super comfortable knitting sweaters yet. I would recommend this. It's got raglan sleeve increases. The body isn't just all stockinette. You've got this eyelet lace kind of detail going on through the whole thing. And yeah, it is a DK weight, although... So I knit this with mystery yarn, and I don't know if this is actually DK weight, but the pattern calls for DK weight, and yes, so if you haven't knit a sweater yet and you want to, and you like the way this one looks, I like the way this one looks, I like the way this one fits, you should knit it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. I have 5 whips currently. I have no FOs this week, but 5 whips. Who am I? What is going on? So I am going to go through these as quickly as possible, and I am going to start with one of the ones that you've seen before. These are my Kings County socks by Steady Hands Co., who is Laurel. And yeah, I talked about these last time. Obviously I haven't made a whole lot of progress. My sock mojo has gone on vacation without me. The pattern is really cool, and it looks more complicated than it actually is. So I have started increasing for the heels progress keeper that I made, as well as these little stitch markers that I have also made. And why do I keep going over there? I will talk about my stitch markers later in the episode. I do love this pattern, but there's just, like I said, my sock mojo has left the building. These are supposed to be part of my entry for these socks, the box of socks knit along that Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast is hosting. And I didn't get the memo for this knit along last year because I was still kind of getting into the knitting community. So I thought, when I found out about it, I thought this was going to be my year, because I do enjoy knitting socks, but apparently this is not my year. Yeah, so these are supposed to be my March socks, and I don't think that they're not going to get done in March. Those socks are being knit with Otto Kania in the Atata Multi, which is their wool silk base. And that yarn was given to me by my parents. I don't know how much my dad had to do with the yarn purchases, but we'll give him some credit. We'll say parents. It was in my Christmas stocking, so it was from Santa. My next whip is also part of the Make What Your Mama Gave Ya. Make along, don't say knit along, don't do it. This is the Lovely Ribbed Hat by Pearl Soho, which just happened to come out like a day or two before I was looking for a sport weight hat pattern, which I didn't realize until I went to the projects page to just see what other people had done, and there were no projects on Ravelry. And I realized that, yeah, that they just came out with this pattern. It is just a 2x2 ribbed hat. The ribbing goes all the way up to the top, and it is written for a sport weight yarn, and I am knitting this using Cascade yarns. This is their Heritage Silk base, held with mohair, which has been in stash for many years, and I don't know exactly what it is, but my best guess is that it is Rowan Kid Silk Haze. You may recognize this pairing from last episode. This is the same, these are the same yarns that I used in my Alyeska sweater for that little pop of color in the color work, which you will see later. So, not much to say about this. It's a really basic ribbed beanie. So those are my two Make What Your Mama Gave Ya entries, and they are going fabulously. I have been thinking about casting on this next whip for quite some time. I had the idea for this project last year when I bought the yarn, which is Claudia hand-painted yarn in their Oh Baby base, and I don't know what this white is, if it's cream or white, or I don't know what the color name is for it, but this one is salmon, and that's the reason I picked this set up originally. These were in a really, really pretty set. There were 4 of these, and they're 50 grams a piece, and they were in my local yarn shop, and they were sitting by the checkout counter in really, really pretty, you know, twisted up, and had a little ribbon around them, and I just grabbed them, like, because, well, I saw that this one, this colorway was salmon, and so I just grabbed them. Didn't even check what the price was, and they were pretty pricey. But that's okay. Like, supporting local businesses is always good. So these have been sitting around, kind of just waiting for the perfect project to come along. So this is a silk and merino, I think, blend, and I thought they would be perfect for a little summer top. So this is a pattern by Andy Satterland, and I've never knit any of her patterns, but I've seen Katie of Inside Number 23 podcast knit at least one of hers. I think she's knit more, and she highly recommends her patterns. So this is the beginnings of the Zinone? Zinone? I'm gonna go with Zinone. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's gonna be a pretty little lacy top. So the pattern includes a couple different ways you can knit this. I chose to do the version that just has the lace on the top of the back. There's another version that you can do lace going all the way down the back. But I'm just going to do the little bit of lace at the top. So this is the beginning of the back. It's a really interesting pattern construction. Oopsie. So it's a paid for pattern, and so I'm not going to give too much away, but we're going to start, I think I've got one more lace repeat, and then I'm going to start the front part going up here. Yeah, I haven't knit lace in about a year, I think. Any kind of serious lace knitting. And I like it. It takes a lot more focus than some of my other projects, so it's not getting a whole lot of work done on it. One thing I really like about this pattern is this little part here is created by slipping stitches. So it started out as a knit purl rib, and then you slip stitches, and at first I didn't like it at all because it was I didn't really understand what we were doing. I thought it was like a not as good version of a rib, but once you start going, it makes this really squishy, lovely texture. And yeah, so trust the pattern. I also have some more handmade stitch markers on this one. I made these oops. I made these to match the pattern. You can't really see them, but yeah. Stitch markers are very helpful when you're working with lots of lace repeats. So eventually, once I get down to the body of this, after I finish the lace, I'm going to be striping these two colors, and which is not part of the pattern, but I don't have enough of one color in this yarn to make a solid version of this. So it's going to be a little stripy summer top, and I'm excited for it. Oh, the pattern, you can also knit a cropped version or a full-length version, and I haven't quite decided. I guess it just depends on how far my yarn goes, so whether or not it's going to be cropped. But it's nice to have that option, and it's nice that she kind of like lays it out so that you can choose. I will say this is not a hand-holdy pattern. It's comprehensive and it's great for me, but there's no like photo tutorials, and there's not a lot of extra information that might help you out a little bit if you are a newer knitter. She does have a chart for the lace and written instructions. For some reason, I don't know what it was, I tried following the written instructions because that's what I usually do, because I don't normally enjoy following charts. I don't normally enjoy following charts, but I don't know. I don't know if it was me or if it was a pattern, but the written instructions did not work for me. I could not get my stitch count to be the same as what was written. So I just started following the chart. The chart works fine for me, so it could just be me, I don't know. I didn't really look into it that much, as after starting and frogging twice, I got to the chart, it was working, so I didn't really like try to investigate exactly what was going on with the written instructions and what I was doing wrong. It's working, so just thought I would mention that if you are thinking about knitting this pattern. It's great, but it's just something to be aware of, and I think that's kind of the case with most of her patterns, from what I remember, from what I've heard other people when they talk about it. Most of her stuff is not necessarily something that I feel like I can pull off, but I do really enjoy that kind of like retro look. The next work in progress that I would like to share with you today is my Alyeska sweater. I have been watching Christy Glass Knits. She has a incredible YouTube channel, and if you haven't watched her, you should go check her out. She knit the Alyeska sweater right before she went to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so she does videos, she does like single videos for whips, and then single like standalone video for her FOs. So I feel like in that format you get a lot more information about a single project. So if you are interested in knitting this, I would highly recommend you go check out her videos, because she's got a lot of good tips. And basically it's like everything that I thought about the pattern she thought too. So this is my Alyeska. It's gotten a lot of progress since I last showed it to you. I think I was about up here. I have finished the big color work, and I'm now down on the body here. So this is Alyeska by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks, and I am knitting this mostly in knit picks. Sorry, I've got my sleeves are on needles on hold because I hate picking up stitches off of like scrap yarn, so I just put them on I put them on a cable and then stick larger needles so that the stitches won't fall off. But it does make an annoying, like, clanky noise, so. Yes, I'm knitting this all with knit picks. It's pretty much all stroll except for the yellow part, which is that cascade heritage silk held together with mohair. So yeah, I did a couple things differently so far. Down here, after these crosses, aka vampire repellent row, you're supposed to switch colors here, and I did not. I just kept going in this color because this is the color, this is the yarn that I have the most of. I have ripped back rows more times, I think, than any other project ever, just because like I had this color up here in this section and I hated that, and so I ripped it out, and then I was debating whether or not I wanted to continue with this green blue because it's kind of bright, and I didn't know if it was really going to fit in with the top part, which is a little bit more muted. But man, on screen I just love it, like, and I love it in person too. I'm past the whole like indecision point, and I'm just cruising on this thing. So I'm going to turn this inside out so you can see up at the top here. I was wrapping my floats every third or fourth stitch, which is just kind of what I know you're supposed to do, so that you don't get these like down here, these floats that you kind of get stuck in things and they can pull. So yeah, I was wrapping them, but once I hit the part where when you get to this part that's supposed to be knit with the mohair, you're doing three colors at a time. Color work? Stranded? Is that, there's got to be a better way of saying that. Anyways, yeah, so I was doing 3 at a time, but I was also holding one of those 3 together. So I had 4 different balls of yarn going at once, and wrapping the floats just, it was a pain. It was going really slow, and then also it was messing up my tension on the front here. This part was just, yeah, you can see like right there. It's not, I mean, if I stretch it out like that, it looks kind of not great. You can't really tell now, but anyways, I just decided to give up wrapping my floats, and so for the rest of it, I just let them be, and let them be as long. I think the longest was like 10 stitches maybe. Those are pretty long. And so I'm just going to be careful when I wear this. Mostly I've noticed that with floats, the only thing that's really annoying is if I'm wearing rings and trying to get a sweater on. My rings will catch, but other than that, I don't really get stuff caught in them. Like, it's not really that big of a deal. And for the yoke of a sweater, I don't anticipate a lot. Unless I'm wearing like a shirt with buttons on it, I don't think that that'll be that big of an issue. So that's what I did. I don't know if that's maybe something that I should not have done, but that's what I did. So I thought that was worth mentioning. The other thing that's also kind of related to that, so when I was getting that puckering and kind of frustrated about what was happening with my tension and all this, it was just not looking really clean, and I did go up a needle size, so past what I got with gauge. So I was knitting this part on a 6, and then I switched to a size 7 for the color work. I know I've been talking too long when my battery dies when it had a full charge on it. Yes, okay, where was I? What I did was steam block this top part, and mostly I did it because I was going to take an Instagram photo of the work in progress, and so I wanted it to look like a little bit nicer, but it really, like, I'm impressed with how much it helped like even that color work out. And I know this, I've done color work before, I know that that's what happens, but if you are doing a color work sweater, or if you're doing any sweater and you're kind of worried about like how it's looking, especially if you're getting puckering like that, block it. When in doubt, block it out, because it's just like, you'll be surprised by how much it helps. And that's just a steam block. I do that a lot with my works in progress. I mean, mostly it's for Instagram so that it looks kind of pretty and not so bunchy, but it really can like make a big difference in it's like, for me, it makes a big difference in my attitude towards my work. You know, if it looks nice, if it's working the way that I want it to work, I am more likely to be excited about knitting it. So yeah, I just take a steam iron and steam it out a little bit, put it on a blocking mat. I didn't pin it or anything, I just threw it on a blocking mat, and yeah, looks a lot better. I would recommend checking out Christy Glass's videos if you are interested in knitting this, because I found it very, very helpful. All her information is so good, and she's such a good knitter. She knit this in 2 weeks. Like, that's insane. That's so fast. Finally, I'm not going to talk about this next whip too much because I have been talking forever, but also this is a test knit that I'm doing for Annie Lepton of Boho Chic Fiber Company, and I asked for permission to share this on the podcast. She said yes, but she wants us not to share finished objects until after her pattern is released, which will be sometime in May, I think. The deadline for this test is April 30th. So this is an unnamed sweater, and right now I don't have, I mean, it's not very exciting, it's just a rectangle. This is the first sweater that I've knit in pieces, so that's going to be interesting, and not something that I would have done up until recently. I think I didn't love seaming because I didn't really know what I was doing. It's one of those things that sounds like you should just be able to do it. Like, I can, you know, like, I understand the basics of sewing, like, you just seam it up. But if you really take the time to learn how to properly seam things, it makes seaming a whole lot easier, and you might even enjoy the process. So as this is my first time knitting a sweater knit in pieces, I wasn't really sure how big it was supposed to be, you know, what these pieces were supposed to look like exactly. I mean, I knew like what the basic shape was, but I was a little concerned because this is supposed to have, she said the sweater is supposed to have 8 to 16 inches of positive ease, which seems like a lot to me. So I decided to knit a size down, so with this size I'm getting like 4 to 5 inches of positive ease. So I was kind of concerned because this is supposed to be, the whole thing is supposed to be 40 inches around, so this piece should be 20 inches, and it just wasn't looking like I got gauge. I swatched 3 different times. I am using this Cloudborne Fibers Superwash Merino worsted twist that I've knit 2 different things out of now. I knit my Fallen Cloud sweater, not Fallen Cloud. I knit my Fallen Cloud shawl and my blue Snowdrop sweater out of this same yarn. And I know that it's not quite a worsted weight, so the pattern calls for worsted weight. This says it's worsted, but it's more like DK. So I knew I was going to have to go up a needle size, and I knew I was going to have to be careful about my swatches and getting the right gauge. So I did go up a couple needle sizes, and I got gauge, but it's still, because you're knitting this flat and there's this kind of like broken rib texture going on, it's kind of pulling in. So again, I got out my iron and I steam blocked it, and you can see right there where it goes in, so this part is kind of flat, and you can kind of tell where I stopped steam blocking it. This part I've knit since I've steam blocked it. So it really made a difference. The blocking, once I blocked it, like I had blocked my swatch, I knew I had gauge it, but I was still nervous about it. And so, yeah, it's just, it stretched out a little bit, and I have something that I know is like what the pattern calls for now. So again, when in doubt, block it out. When I do finish whips, I always wet block them. I wash them and lay them flat, or I pin them out. But while they are in progress and I just want to check things like how my gauge is or fix my color work or, you know, just like make minor adjustments, steam blocking, it's a lifesaver. Because I was like thinking about, at this point when I had done about this much, I was thinking about ripping it back and making a bigger size, just because I was worried about the yarn that I was using. But I'm pretty confident that this is going to work and this is going to be good. So I'm really excited about this pattern, you guys. This is going to be a good one. Yeah, like, I'm excited to get this one done. And I've done this, this is like 2 days of work. I love working with worsted weight. I've missed it, but yeah, this is going to be a fun one, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. We'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to show it to you in, like, probably not the next podcast, but maybe the podcast after that, I'll be able to share it with you. So that's my test it. So I've got one more thing before I sign off. I have been using the same little wire wrapped stitch markers for like years. A friend of mine made them for me and I just love them. They're snag free and they're lightweight, and I just really enjoy working with them, so I decided to try to make my own. And as you've seen in this episode, I have been using a couple of my own, but I've been making them, and I have opened up my very own Etsy shop. These are available on my Etsy shop, and that will be linked below. I have these ones, which I'm calling my Oceanside collection, which have little ocean themed charms on them, and I also have these, which I am calling my Royal Purple collection. These are a lighter weight version than the Oceanside. The Oceanside ones have a heavier gauge wire than the purple ones. But yeah, I just thought I would mention that. Go check them out if you are interested. This is my first time selling anything on Etsy, so it's kind of nerve-wracking. But it's a new experience, and I'm having fun making these, and I just thought, like, if anybody was interested, I would share them with you. So yeah, you get a set of 6, and there's 1 charm on there. That's the way I like to do things, because then you have, like, especially if you're working in the round, it's nice to have a marker that's got a charm on it for like the beginning of the round marker, and then if you have any pattern repeats within your round, these ones without the charms are kind of nice to mark pattern repeats. So these are the ones I use, these are the ones I like to use, and yeah, so I thought I would just share those with you. So do go check out my Etsy shop if you are interested. And that is everything. My battery is about to die, so I'll make this quick. I really appreciate all of you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Show notes will be linked below on my website, ranneyknits.com. You can find me all over the internet as Ranney Knits, including now on Etsy, so go check that out. I will see you next time, Stitches. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!